Hey guys, so this video is going to cover the second Labour of Hercules, which involves slaying the Lernaean Hydra. As always, if you haven't watched the previous videos, I encourage you to watch them before this one. So first I'm going to give a bit of a backstory of the Hydra, where it came from. That this Hydra was in fact raised by Hera to slay Hercules, that was its true purpose. This ties in with Hera hating Hercules and trying to screw him up at every opportunity that presents itself. So back to the Hydra. Now the Hydra lived in a swamp filled with poisonous fumes, and it seems to have a poisonous steam around it, because its blood was also extremely poisonous. So the Hydra is probably one of the most famous Greek monsters, and it's a snake with many heads, and each time you cut off a head, two more grow in its place. Now, when it first came to be, it had more than one head, because if it only had one, you'd cut it off and kill it. And there are many people who said that there were 50, there were 9, there were 6, but there are many interpretations of this. Now there is a small misconception that the Hydra was in fact a huge creature. You see it in the cartoon and also games where they include Hydras, but in fact it was quite a regular sized snake, it wasn't that huge. So when Hercules entered its lair, he first covered his mouth to protect himself from the poisonous fumes, and to lure it out of its nest he shot flaming arrows, and he succeeded in getting it out. Now people say that he was also armed with a sickle, apart from his club, since he needed to cut off its head with something. And he actually did that, he cut off a few heads and each time they'd grow back. And he realized that everything he was doing was futile and he retreated instead. So Hercules then went off to ponder and think of a strategy. And this plan that eventually led to his success came from his nephew, as he asked his nephew for help. And it's questioned whether his nephew was actually inspired by Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Anyway, his plan was to burn the neck stumps of the Hydra once he cuts off its neck, because that would stop them from regrowing. Now there are two different versions of the story. The first one was that he used fire to burn the head, and the second was that once he cut off one of the heads, he dipped his sickle in the venom of the Hydra, its blood, and he used that venom itself to cauterize and burn the wounds. So he actually tried this, and it was working out. And when Hera saw her Hydra, losing its head each one at a time and none were growing, she panicked, and to distract Hercules, she sent a crab, which she just squashed under his foot. So eventually there was only one head left on the Hydra, and for the final head, Hercules used the golden sword that Athena gave him to slice off the last head of the Hydra. And this finally brought by the end of the Hydra, as none of its heads could regrow. Now after slaying the Hydra, Hercules dipped his arrows in his blood since they were extremely venomous, and he basically had a weapon which he'd use in future stories. This is very similar to when he got the Nemean pelt as armor. Like the first two tasks helped increase his weapons and armor a lot, that he's now more prepared for more dangerous and harder foes. So after Hera's crab and Hydra were slain, she was obviously upset, and she immortalized them by placing them in the sky as the constellation of Hydra and Crab. The crab eventually became known as the constellation Cancer. So Hercules was victorious again, and he returned to Eurystheus. Now, as I mentioned previously in the last video, he wasn't allowed to enter the city, and thus he waited outside. And one of Eurystheus' agents told him that Hercules didn't manage to slay the Hydra alone, that he had help from his nephew. And because of this, Eurystheus told him that this task was rendered void, and he had to complete another one instead, since he kind of cheated in it. So this would end up being the first additional task Hercules has to do, but not the last. Anyway, this is the end of this video. As always, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying making these. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and have a great day.